Hi, good morning, everyone. My name's Abbie. I work at Energy UK. For those of you that don't know, it's the trade association across the energy sector. We've got about 100 members spanning retail, generation, and new energy services. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about diversity and inclusion, my own personal experience of diversity and inclusion in the energy sector, and also why I think it's a really critical point now for us to address this issue. So what is the problem? Well, I could stand here today and talk to you about the absence of senior women in the sector. You saw Louise Kingham earlier. She's part of Powerful Women, and they have some data that shows of the top 80 UK energy companies, 42% have all-male boards. Or I could stand here and talk to you about the fact that we have a higher than national average gender pay gap. So we're around 17.5% compared to the national average of 8.9%. Or, as I've just demonstrated in those two stats, I could highlight the fact that we very often naturally just talk about gender and can overlook ethnicity and disability when we're talking about diversity and inclusion. But actually what I'd like to talk to you about is my own personal experience. And so I'm going to show you this photo. This is me a month ago at Conservative Party conference at a business reception that we were sponsoring. So you can see me just tucked at the back there, surrounded by 10 white men and the Chancellor of the Exchequer. And on the night, I could kind of laugh it off. It was a little bit uncomfortable. But the problem with this, and these are the chief executives and leaders of trade associations and businesses spanning accounting, food, pharmaceuticals. For the people in the audience looking at the representatives on the stage that night, they could look at those people and say, business isn't for me. This is a sector that isn't for people like me. And that means we risk losing the skills and the talent that we so vitally need. But I was proud to be there on that evening and proud to be representing women in business and proud that Energy UK had the foresight to put forward a senior woman rather than our chief executive, who would have been another man on the stage. And that's because we feel really passionately about increasing diversity and inclusion at Energy UK. And as a trade association spanning the sector, we've got quite a powerful convening role to bring people together. So we try and do this in three main ways. Firstly, by leading by example and making sure our own house is in order. So we've overhauled our recruitment processes. We've changed our articles of associations to foster greater diversity at board level. And we've also, and we're also supporting our members and bringing them together so that they're learning from each other. So we establish an Equality and Diversity Forum, which brings together members from across the sector and also government and the regulator to learn from each other and create a network of people who are trying to struggle to address some of the same challenges. We also try to highlight best practice. So we publish this guide. There is some fantastic initiatives and programs and trailblazers within the energy sector. And it's from companies big and small. So there are organizations like EDF Energy who have STEM outreach programs, like a program Pretty Curious, which reaches out to school-aged girls, all the way through to new and challenger companies like Octopus Energy, who have a DigiOps team, which is entirely virtual and made up with customer service representatives who are all people returning to work after having children. So there are some great examples out there. There are people who are really making a difference. These are some pictures from a conference that we held a month ago on diversity and inclusion in energy, and we had some fantastic speakers. And the main focus of that conference was action, because quite often we'll go to breakfast briefings or conferences and talk a lot about diversity and inclusion, but we actually want to give people the tools so they can make a positive impact in their own organisations. And one of the messages that came through loud and clear at our conference, unfortunately, was that there's a huge amount still to do. There is some great progress and changes being made, but there's never been a more critical point for us to address diversity and inclusion. Our sector is going through an exciting and rapid transition, and I'm sure Nick will probably touch on the need for that to be a just transition. But we need to seize the opportunity, because Chris was just saying we need the innovation and the skills if we're to meet the future challenges to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. And actually, there's a real risk if we get this wrong. Not only do we need to attract and retain talent, we've got to appeal to future generations. We know that millennials choose organisations and sectors that reflect their own values and aspirations, and climate emergency has never been higher on the public's agenda, with Greta Thunberg and Extinction Rebellion taking those arguments onto the streets. So as a sector, we need to be seen as part of the solution, not the problem causing the climate emergency. And I do feel there's a real opportunity if we get this right, because we have a positive story to tell. It's an exciting sector. There's innovation, technological development, and we're world leading in decarbonisation. So we need to make sure we're communicating effectively and appealing to that future generation. And I do feel it's a really win-win situation if we get this right. Not only will we bring in the skills and the innovation that we need, but we'll also create a more diverse and inclusive sector as a result. Thank you.